Alright, so today is, oh gosh, what is today? Friday? Yeah, I think it's Friday. A little bit of a midweek update. Little John was out yesterday and we did a lot of fussing around trying to figure out how to get these port lights or porthole holes in the boat. And this is one of my patterns, and I was trying to cut it today, cut the hole in the boat today, and I was not entirely successful. Yeah, let's see if I can do it from down here. If you look at the top there, the top of the hole, well, I can't really point to it, but on the top end of the hole that I was routing in there, you'll see there's a divot on the top, just slightly off center to the right. And I'm not sure why that happened. I got my pattern here, and as you can see, the router bit gouged into the pattern, and I don't know why. This is a similar bit here. I wonder if that set screw came loose and started digging in. That's a possibility. But you notice on these that they've got pretty narrow bearings to run on. These here are a little wider bearings. I actually had better luck using my small trim router with 1/4-inch bits that were narrow diameter. And part of that problem is simply the width of the hole that I'm routing. These are 3/4-inch bits, and we're having to remove a lot of material. You know, if you have like here a 1/2-inch bit, it's removing a lot less material, and it moves a lot easier through the wood when you're not having to remove 3/4 of an inch of material out of there. So we got a nasty divot in the side of the boat. Now the good news is it gets routed out above that, outside that oval there. It needs another routering job, so that shouldn't matter. That little divot should be able to be removed. If you look here, this is the next one that goes on over top of this one then, and yeah, it'll take out most of that, or take care of most of that. But yeah, not a great deal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some of this epoxy fairing compound and fill these. There's a little one here too. And then I suppose I'm going to have to get some different router bits again. These 3/4-inch bits are just too much material to remove. It's hard to do. So we're at a screeching halt again today. Yesterday, John and I did a little bit of work on the deck. There were some screws there where I missed, going through the deck and into the deck beams, or the side planks here. Yeah, once in a while that happens. So we fixed those. We pulled them out and redrove them where they needed to be, and then filled those other screws. John was disappointed. Little John was disappointed because he didn't get to drive any of these screws in the deck, and he kind of, for some reason, wanted to do that. But anyway, so he got to drive, 8 or 10 screws in, whatever it was, and so he was happy. But yeah, that's where we are. So we're at a standstill again with this, putting the portholes in there. I'm gonna have to get these filled and patched and sanded and fixed, so I don't have to make a whole new pattern here. Now see, we did do the mock-up here. We did get that successfully done. The thing about this is, when you're holding the router in a position it should be in, vertically, and have something laying on a flat horizontal surface, life is much, much easier. And so we got this one cut out of this mock-up of the hull, and it worked all right. It was still, I could tell this was going to be a big job, and it is going to be a big job because you're just constantly fussing with the router, changing the depth and changing the bits and so forth and so on. So yeah, it's going to be a big job. But yeah, if you guys can get a couple of them done maybe in a day, I don't know, we'll see. But Yeah, this turned out all right, but unfortunately the one in the boat didn't. And that was the reason I wanted to, you know, do a mock-up again to get a feel for it, how it was working and what I needed to do or not do. And I don't know why this router bit dug in. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me how that happened, how that could even happen. You know, I suppose maybe if you pulled if the router wasn't in all the way, you pulled it up a little bit, yeah, maybe that's what happened. But it's just, you're going through, it's, you know, there's so much to remove with a big bit like this that, yeah, I'm going to see if I can find some 1/2-inch bits in the 1/2-inch shank like this one, but with the bearing down here. So, yeah, we're going to have to wait again, I suppose. Or I could try using my small trim router with the 1/4-inch bits and seeing how that works, but I'm a little bit leery of that too, but I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, that's an update today, and didn't get a whole lot done. Alright, so it's the next day, which is Saturday, and I'm not sure what all I talked about yesterday, but anyway, picking up from where I hopefully left off. I think I talked about this. I had gouged this out a little bit, my pattern, and so I put some filler in there yesterday, and then this morning I sanded it, reattached it to the, well, I actually did a couple spots up here on the boat too then, where that gouge had gone into the boat. Now that's going to get routed out regardless. You know, like this area up here, that's going to get routed out when I open this up to recess the actual porthole. But I needed to get this surface smooth so that I could route her in deeper. And I screwed up again. Down here I gouged a chunk out here, and then I gouged into the surface here a bit. There's a little bit here too, that I think from the previous one, and there was a little bit there too that I had fixed the night before. And this is stuff that I put on today. Now, as you can see, the wide swath cut out here was a 3/4-inch bit. So then today I switched to my smaller router bit and my smaller router. Excuse me. And you can see the deeper cut back in there. But after I did that, I realized that was a smaller bit yet. That was only a 3/8-inch bit. And the longer bits that I've got for my 1/4-inch router, or shank, are 1/2-inch. So this step that you see here is where I started going in with a 1/2-inch router, or down there you can see I started going in with a 1/2-inch router bit to bring that all down to the same, you know, cut width and in depth. But then as I was doing this around here, the problem is these routers have switches that are hard to, I mean, you almost can't, you can't feel it, you've got to see it. And so I suppose I twisted it a little bit trying to turn it off, and it gouged in and ripped a little rip on the side and the surface, and so now I've got more patching to do. So yeah, it's not a big deal, it's not gonna hurt anything, it'll be fine in the long run, but it's just kind of disappointing. This is being a little more challenging than I expected, and I think the problem is we're doing it on a vertical surface, and I don't usually route things out on a vertical surface. I'm used to doing it, you know, on a bench or a table, or horizontally on a flat plane, but not on a vertical plane, and it's giving me some issues. Well, and then of course this last deal here too, I just had the wrong router bit in there, but that was my own fault. But anyway, so I gotta wait for this stuff to cure before I can sand this down, and then I'll put my pattern back on here again, and then route this out so it's nice and smooth, and then we'll continue going deeper. So this one porthole opening is wind up taking me days. Now hopefully once I get it figured out, I'll have it figured out, and it won't be as big a deal, or I won't have as many screw ups as I'm having here. I mean, I don't know, maybe I should have just cut these out with a jigsaw, I don't know. I suppose I could have cut these out with a jigsaw maybe to within a 1/4 inch or so. And then used a router to finish it off. I don't know. But the problem with a jigsaw though is you're going through 2 inches of hull material here, 2 inches of wood. That's a lot to cut with a jigsaw too. Yeah. Jigsaw blades tend to start wandering a little bit, going off at an angle, and I'm not so sure that would have been real effective either. But yeah, so now I gotta wait for this to dry and cure, and then I'll clean that up, sand it, and run the router around there again, and then continue on going deeper. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I got to get this whole thing to a 1/2 inch wide, and then we can continue going into the hull to, you know, to get through the 2x material that's inside there. You can see we're through the plywood. You know, we're about 1 inch in right now. But anyway, that's where we stand. Again, not getting a whole heck of a lot done because I'm having little screw ups here. What we did was we went inside the boat, we measured from the deck down, and then we drilled a hole. And this is our hole that we start with. And then what I did was I put a flat edge up on the deck up here, and I measured down to where we in 2 places, you know, from here to here, and then from here to here, and I drew a straight line across there. That will give me my port light or my porthole sitting on a line that's parallel to the deck line, which is what we're going to do across the whole boat. You know, whether we're up on this raised part back here or in the rest of the boat up forward there. So that's how we're locating them from the inside where we want them. And then we're measuring down here to get them consistent height above or below the deck. And we'll just do that across the boat as we go. But again, now I gotta wait for this to cure, and got a couple of holes here to fill for my screws that hold the pattern on there, I guess. Probably just wind up countersinking those and putting some more screws in like I did everywhere else here. Got lucky here. I almost went into a screw. I mean, what are the odds of hitting a screw there? But I almost did. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, tomorrow we'll work on it again. Okay, so it's still Saturday. It's Saturday night, and you know, after I made my attempts here using the there, you see a little better, using the 3/4 inch router bit in the big router. And I wasn't having great luck with that. It was hard to control, and if it got off a little bit, kicked, and it made a mess of everything. So I did a little patch in there. I decided to come up here, come forward, and do the first one in the saloon, at least get started on it. And I thought, well, I'll use the small router in the 1/2 inch bits again and see how that goes. And here I had a little issue, which was going to need to be addressed at some point anyway, where this lower edge of plywood was out a little too far, so I had to plane that down. But okay, so here's the 1/2 inch router on the trim router, and I'm about halfway in, I suppose, maybe a little better than halfway, maybe 1.25 inches in there. But the problem I'm having is anywhere where I've got a imperfection in the plywood here, I had a seam right here, and of course when I hit that, it jumped in a little bit and then gouged out there. And then the same thing here, it, you know, the bearing wanted to follow the crack here and go in there. Now maybe I should have waited until I had the outside of the boat done before I tried cutting these holes, but I thought get them done now, that way when I'm epoxying and whatnot, I can touch up and fix whatever I need to touch up and fix. So while this was working, you know, I got that issue there. That's going to need to be patched. You know, I'll have to get some epoxy filler in there, and I don't know. It's proving a little more challenging than I expected. And another thing that was giving me problems, those 1/2 inch router bits turn at a lot higher speed Well, you could turn them down, I guess, but to get them to work, you really need them at full RPM. But anyway, the bearings aren't lasting. And, you know, one of these bits, or actually a couple of them I've had now that were really expensive bits. And, you probably aren't going to be able to see that, but the bearings are rough now and seizing up, and even on this 1/2 inch or this 3/4 inch bit on the 1/2 inch shank bits, you can see how they're starting to burn and discolor and whatnot there. So that's not real good either. So I decided just to do a test. I took my initial pattern, and this would be for the small hole that needs to go all the way through first. And I simply transferred it, pencil mark on here, and used my my jigsaw with a really good quality blade in it. And yeah, it's probably the best cutout I've got, and the easiest and the quickest that I've gotten so far. So now we still need to get the wider diameter, you know, even if that's, you know, cut out with a jigsaw. We'll still need to, whoops, this isn't the right one, is it? Sorry. We will still need to route out the recess. Well, it's still not the right. And what did I? Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Losing my mind here just a little bit. Okay, we'll still have to come back in route a recess in there. After, you know, even after this inside part would have been cut out. And this is actually the part that you're going to see. You're not going to actually see this in here, other than on the inside, depending on how I finish the inside. So I guess that first hole, that 2-inch deep hole that I've been trying to cut and haven't been having a lot of luck with on the routers, at least not on the boat's end of things, I could just do with the jigsaw, call that good, and then, you know, use this one to get that outside recess cut in there, and it would still probably look all right. I don't know. I think maybe I'm trying to get too fussy cutting these out, trying to get them too perfect. I just don't think it's gonna matter that much. But anyway, so yeah, I think the next one I try to do, I'll probably try to just use the jigsaw, and we'll see how that goes. These are some Bosch bits that I've got, some nice long Bosch bits that are incredibly sharp. So, and it seems to have done an all right job. So, yeah, next one I guess we'll give that a shot. Hello and welcome to the boat shop. Today is the 29th of January, and I continue my struggles in my attempts to get holes in the boat for the port lights. You can see there's one there that's done, and the port light is just sitting in there. It's not mounted yet, of course. And there is another one over here. So far I've gotten 2 of them done, and it's been an absolute struggle. And I should show you something else here too. I don't know. Oh, I don't have that bit here. But one of the problems I'm having is there's so much material to remove that, like these small bits, the bearings are all going bad on them. And today I picked up, this was the only bit that even is going to have a chance of working. Uh-oh, somebody wants in. What do you want? You coming in? There you go. So, yeah, I'm having troubles finding pattern bits. The biggest difficulty is all these pattern bits, for the most part, are too long. The cutting area is too long. I mean, you've only got a short amount of movement that you can make on these, because you have to get that bearing running on a surface. So you got a little bit, you know, you can move it up or down, but not just a whole lot. So you need different lengths of cutter bits. And because we're removing so much material, we need different lengths of cutter bits, so we're not going too deep all at once. The biggest problem is finding short bits. This one here is got like a 1/2 inch cutter on it. So this one will work. It is a 1/2 inch shank, which should be for the bigger router. But yeah, it's proving challenging. And the real reason it's proving challenging is because you're working on a vertical surface. If you move that router, you know, if you're routing perpendicular to the surface, but if it moves just a little bit, if you don't keep it perfectly pushed up against the side, now you've dug into the wood and created a divot there. And then any future passes with the router, you know, that bearing will hit that divot and then just exaggerate that. So you can see here I got a couple of 3/4 and a 1 inch, and I've got a 1/2 inch somewhere. Must be on the other router yet, but yeah, see, there's the 1/2 inch, and this is the last one of these I got, and that bearing is getting that in there. So yeah, this is challenging. So what I've decided to do, oh, there she goes again, climbing ladders. So what I've been doing now, or decided to do, is I'm going to use the jigsaw for the initial cut all the way through, you know, the smaller cut on the inside here, to cut all the way through, and then this area where we recess in is going to be the only area that I router out. Yeah, then I'll have to use a drum sander or whatever to clean that opening up where the saw went. But what I'm doing here is I am running this flat edge off the top of the boat here to get me a measurement down. And so I'm measuring down here and down here, and then drawing a line across here, and that's where the top of my pattern goes. I made both of my patterns. Sorry about that. I made both my patterns. This is hard to do. Made both of my patterns the same depth up here, so I can lay one on top, you know, and then the other one, and get them in the correct position there. And then I've got it laid out, the center line here, and of course this, and then we can just line those up to the marks on my patterns. Something like that there. And so then we have the port lights or the portholes running in the proper orientation to the deck line, and we can cut the first hole out, and then this one will go on, and then we'll do the routering to get that routed out. So yeah, this has been difficult. It doesn't seem like it'd be that big a deal, and I thought I prepped myself pretty well for this by, you know, doing a couple of mock-ups and doing one on the workbench. But when you're holding that router up against here, I mean, not only do you have to hold it perfectly perpendicular to the side of the boat, but you can't let it tip even just a little bit. And that whole time, then, of course, you're trying to work around, you know, four corners or rounded corners and the straight edges, and you're removing a lot of material in the process. So it just isn't real easy to do. Is it going to work? Yeah, I think it's going to help reduce a lot of that routering by using the jigsaw initially. And of course, that part isn't actually visible from the outside. The only place you're going to see if it's a little rough is on the inside. We can clean that up on the inside too. So yeah, so it's working, but I'm having to kind of change up what I'm doing, and I'm having troubles finding router bits. These pattern bits with the bearing on the bottom or top, or however you want to classify that. They're hard to find. It just doesn't seem like a lot of places want to sell them. Cats are getting excited. Huh? Are you guys getting excited? Getting the zoomies? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so that's where we're at today. I'll probably get back at this tomorrow. I was out of town all day today, and so I didn't get anything else done here, but I'll get this one cut out here probably tomorrow and maybe the next one up here too. Try to get this side done at least, and we'll go from there. So that's really all I have. Nothing else going on this week, so I will see you again next week.